So, hi everyone, and welcome to the astrology conversation for today. We're going to be doing Asteroid Magdalena. So, we're going to begin with a meditation that's come to me in the last few days. Then we'll do a presentation of the kind of key points about Asteroid Magdalena, but more generally, what this archetype of Magdalena is all about, and that can be very different. Maybe you have had contact with this archetype or not. Either way, we want to kind of share our experiences of that. So the last part of the call will be the conversation part. Just to say as well that I'm going to share this on my YouTube channel. So if in the conversation part you would rather not be recorded, you can either write in the chat or just say, please pause the recording. It's very easy for me to pause. It's not a problem at all. Okay, so if you also know what your Magdalena is, you can put it in the chat in a bit. But I want to start with this meditation that came through the last few days. And it's linked to the Venus star point that just happened in Libra. And a particular thing about this, the superior conjunction, is that Venus disappears around the far side of the sun. And one thing this can kind of accentuate is feelings of disconnection and separateness. You know, these are the things that can kind of really be exacerbated, that feeling, or perhaps even loneliness. When Venus has disappeared round the other side of the sun. So what this meditation is going to do is take us into our yearning for love, for beauty, for success, for, all the things that Venus represents in astrology. And then it's going to take us, though, into a merging with the solar energy, the soul, the Christos, if you like. Okay, so let's take a few breaths together. Just noticing where we might feel a bit tense. Letting the breath begin to relax us. And as we focus inward, I want you to just notice the first thing that comes to your attention that you might be yearning for or longing for. Perhaps it's a lover, perhaps it's a stronger connection with a person you already have a friendship or a partnership with, but you really long for that to deepen in some way. The yearning might be for a job or a certain kind of lifestyle. So just allow your heart to yearn. Don't try and stop or restrain the feeling. Just allow that energy. It can be very powerful energy. It can change your whole life. These yearnings, these desires. And as we allow that feeling to just be in the body, perhaps it's small or large, maybe even overwhelming, just let it be as it is. And in our imaginations, have a kind of realization that this feeling is generated by the presence of Venus in our solar system. Perhaps that doesn't feel right as a whole, just an aspect of it is generated by the neutrinos of this Venusian energy of love and beauty. The yearning could even be for a whole new way of life for humanity, more working together, more equality in relationships. Now we're going to tune in to that energy being unfulfilled. So a moment in time where it can't be had, it can't be reached, it can't be forced. And that Venus is too far away. She's unreachable. There's no bridge. There's no words. This doesn't seem to be any way of communicating that would lead to fulfillment of this desire. But we move instead towards the sun, towards the solar logos. Perhaps as the Sufi poets did, we might call the solar logos the friend or the beloved. The sun is a representation of that much greater cosmic creative energy. And allowing ourselves to be absorbed into that powerful solar energy, that the yearning be met with the most vast and perfect divine love. Allow your heart to fully go out to the beloved, to know how deeply you are loved. You are a face of the Creator. A divine experiment. Allowing that solar energy to infuse your body, infuse your heart, and you may even feel that there's a void in your heart where this longing has emanated from. Just allowing the light of the sun, the warmth of the sun, to fill that space, and for that light to have a beautiful quality at Samhain, this dark time of the year, that light to shine even more brightly in the darkness. An eternal flame immortal beingness of you. And imagining that this yearning was how Mary Magdalene felt when Jesus died, when he was taken away from her, his physical life ended. Imagine the yearning and the grief. And this is the journey that she took, this merging with the Christos as an energy field rather than a physical human presence. She had to transcend in herself to create the unity, to transcend the sense of separation. So as we come back to our normal consciousness, let's welcome Magdalena as asteroid, as archetype, as a master teacher of how to transcend the wound of separation. When you're ready, opening your eyes, and coming back to this space and time. Okay, so from that kind of experiential place, let's have a look at Magdalena as an asteroid. And I mean, essentially, when we're looking at these bodies as asteroids, what we're looking at is archetypes. And so any person can plug into these archetypes, but for some of us, they may be more important than others. And also collectively, Magdalena does seem like a really big one. You know, there's loads of books about her, there's films about her. So she's obviously there in the collective kind of experience and imagination. So let's have a look at the physical properties of Magdalena first. So she's discovered on the 24th of September 1891 in Nice. So quite unusual actually for asteroids to be discovered in France. A lot of them are discovered in America and Hawaii, where they seem to have these like mega telescopes. So one of the reasons she was probably called Magdalena is this astronomer worked in Nice and lived in Provence. Charlois is his second name. So no one really knows why Magdalene was called Magdalena actually, but you know, we can kind of think France, Mary Magdalena is really big there, so I think that's why she was named for it. So she has an orbit of 5.7 years, and she has a very steep inclination of 10.6, meaning that she's invisible from Earth for long periods of time. So if I show you this will show you a bit of astronomy here. you can see that this is Magdalena, there's Jupiter, there's Mars, so she's in the main asteroid belt, and we can see her going up and then down. So she's what that means when you have a steep ecliptic. So Persephone asteroid has one as well. So there's periods of time when you can see the body, and then long periods of time where they disappear. So I thought that was interesting because invisibility is obviously something we associate with Mary Magdalene. So these are some of the psychological issues of the archetype. Invisibility is an obvious one. Here she was the ancient priestess who was Yeshua's consort, and yet she's completely invisible and written out of history. So people who have this archetype, they may do something really amazing, and yet nobody sees that. They're seemingly not able to attract public attention, if you like. They're always somehow obscure in the shadows. She was slandered as a whore by Pope Gregory. I mean, I thought this was all true my entire childhood, and actually it's only like about a year or so ago that I found out that this was it was absolutely not true. Pope Gregory just like made this up about her. So again, people who have the archetype strongly, they may have had religious parents and their sexuality not accepted, or thought, you told you're dirty or whatever, or you're a whore even. So people with the archetype may have that issue. So she comes to France in a boat, apparently without oars, which is, I love that story. So the tides just kind of bring her to the south of France. And there are many Black Madonnas in France, Spain, and the Mediterranean area that remember her presence. And you even find a few in Britain and stuff. So when you come across the Black Madonnas, they're normally intrinsically linked to Magdalene as well. So who was Magdalene or Magdalena? I kind of learned about her. I did about an 8-week course with the Center for Action and Contemplation in New Mexico, like an online course. And this is a kind of very alternative Christian center who are really writing a lot of what I would say would be the corruptions, or the way the teachings have been distorted. And I did this course with a woman called Cynthia Bourgeau. So she's written a book about, it's quite a scholarly book. It's like the decoding of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. And I have read some of the books about Mary Magdalene, which I kind of have various responses to. I personally don't like when she's overly sexualized, which quite a lot of the books do. It's kind of this glamorous, she was the lover of Jesus, but whether she was or not, for me, what is amazing about her is that she was a high priestess, and she was part of Yeshua being able to come to earth to transfigure a lot of dense collective energy. She was kind of really part of the whole thing, as was Mother Mary and, the disciples as well. So I think it kind of misses the point when everyone kind of goes, the big issue is that Jesus and Mary Magdalene was having sex. In some ways it is a big issue, but it's also it can help us kind of really miss, I guess, the depth of the transmission of what Magdalena is about. So one of the things that came out of this course that has always sort of stuck with me and may not be familiar to you is that at the time of Constantine's conversion to Christianity in Rome, a lot of the early Christians, they were called the desert mothers and fathers. They go off and live in the desert. They're like disgusted. They don't. Christianity is becoming this sort of militarized religion, far from what Jesus taught, and so they go off into the desert. And there's a particular person who goes around and gathers up their teachings and brings them to Saint Benedict in Italy. So one of the things Saint Benedict kind of, and that whole Benedictine tradition, hold quite an interesting essence of Christianity before its distortions. And of course, one of the main things is the daily office, which we get in Kundalini Yoga as well, that it's this sort of daily practice of chanting and breathing and coming together as a community that actually is a core part of keeping the frequency or the higher consciousness in play. Okay, so I just thought I'd throw that in because I always love the daily rhythm idea and the chanting and all of that. It really appeals to me, and I think we're doing that on Soul Tribe in a way, and we can do it across time zones and everything, which is quite interesting. Okay, so the Gospel of Mary Magdalene was actually discovered in Egypt, and it's discovered sometime after the Nag Hammadi scrolls, which are the main kind of bulk of scrolls around Christianity. But because of all these weird kind of things that happened and the war and stuff, they actually end up being published around the same time. So the central teaching in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene is called Ihidayo, and it means the eye of the heart. And it has a lot of similarities with heart math, actually, in that we're entraining the brain waves to the slower heart waves, and we're able to be in any kind of situation. And I guess another way we could say is that we see things through the eye of compassion, and therefore we're able to be a healing presence in the world through that. And the whole point is about building the inner kingdom within ourselves. So my parents are very religious, evangelical Christians, and there's this real thing about everyone's waiting for Jesus to come back, and we've got to behave this way, and if we don't, it's not going to happen. But actually, I really resonate with this idea that we're going to build the kingdom within ourselves, and I feel we've already started to do that. So some of the Gospels, such as the Gospel of Thomas and various other ones, really support, firstly, that Yeshua had a strong connection with women as well as Mary Magdalene. Women were in a really equal status, which was incredibly unusual in the Jewish culture for that to even happen. And support this idea of an inner kingdom growing inside ourselves. Okay, so now we get to some exciting things. The synchronicity always comes through the astrology. So if I open this a bit, so this is the discovery chart of Magdalena, and we can see that it's just after a Venus star point in Libra. So this was another, if you think the periods are 100 years in a sign and then 150-year gap, it's kind of amazing. We've caught this Venus star point in Libra, and it's just a couple of days after it. You can see Venus is at 3 degrees, the Sun at 1, so it's maybe like 2 days after. And I started researching this about 2 days after the Venus star point. So it was like, oh my God, it's like exactly the same energy imprint that of the time we're in now, apart from this one is at the beginning of Libra and the one now is at the end of Libra. So that's quite interesting. It'd be interesting to hear what you think the kind of meaning of that might be. Okay, I'm not going to say too more about this chart, but I'll show you the human design chart is interesting as well. So the chart, Magdalena is in 49 line 1 when she's discovered, and this is revolutionary change, so the really powerful point that she's discovered. We're in the chart itself, like the sun is in what's called the vessel of love. So the sun is at 46 line 4 and the earth 25 line 4. So this is ecstasy and universal love. And then the sun, the design sun is the 15 fluorescence, and the design earth is the 10.6, which is ease and being. So those felt like, really, wow, the vessel of love. I don't think it could get any better, really. So what else did I notice on here? Okay, so Uranus at that time was in 50 line 4, which is where the Venus star point is this time round. So that's 29 degrees Libra, 50 line 4. So you could say there's an energetic resonance through Uranus from this time in 1891 to this moment in time, and that revolutionary energy, because Uranus is a planet of revolution. So it's saying this is going to overturn everything, this archetype, and we can see that, Magdalena challenges the foundations of so much of our thinking and teachings that have kind of been the glue holding people together in the last 2,000 years. And when it's all challenged, all kinds of things start to emerge. So at the time of discovery, Magdalena was conjunct Ceres, who is the mother goddess, who's all to do with nurturing. This point is 19 degrees Aquarius, so you can look at your own chart and look at the fixed signs, Leo, Taurus, Scorpio, and if you have things around that part of the zodiac, they will be activated by this point. So I've said that about the sun was in the 46 line 4. So the 46 line 4, we've got Phoebe here. Actually, I'm going to invite her in first at the end. And 46 line 4 has a really interesting thing in human design. So I'll invite you in a sec, Phoebe. Okay, so I wanted to read this from astrologer Eric Francis. What we know about Magdalena from scripture, from law, and from fiction, we also know something from Leonardo, who painted Magdalena into the Last Supper, sitting at the right hand of Jesus. The Bible provides religious sanction. Leonardo's depiction gives her street cred because we regard him as an erudite genius and a fair person. In scripture, Mary was said to be a woman of means, who it is thought of as financially helping Jesus with his ministry. She was at the crucifixion. She was there when the crypt was opened, and she was the first to attest to Jesus as the one who had resurrected. So in Christianity now, she's now acknowledged as the disciple to the disciples. So she's a witness to the faith. It is incredible then to consider the ways in which the universal church has treated women as non-people. None of the Abrahamic religions are particularly kind to women, though the Catholics went off the chart, particularly in their unkindness to women and sexuality, which are closely related. Where sex is, I mean, I'll just say on that, I don't think the Protestant church, which started the witch hunts, is any better towards women, so I wouldn't necessarily pick out the Catholic Church as being any worse. Where sex is vilified, women are vilified, and this is very much in the tradition of Christianity, though as typical has nothing to do at all with the life of Jesus and how he treated women. And among the delineations of 318 Magdalena that we are seeing are themes such as commitment to a group or collective cause. The point represents an inner change in direction after intuitively noticing small signs or miracles in everyday life. So yeah, have a look in your own chart and see if that's true for you. So we can think of Magdalena as a shaman, one who takes on responsibility for the soul of the tribe. This is a very high meaning, direct and challenging calling to service, leaving no room for ethical or moral ambivalence. I love that. Okay, I'm going to leave that one. So we shall begin our conversation bit. We'll invite Phoebe in. I'm not sure if you were here at the beginning, Phoebe, but I'm going to put this on my YouTube channel. So if anyone doesn't want to be on that, please just ask me to pause. Okay, invite you in, Phoebes.
Oh, hi. Thank you for the invitation. It's great to be here. And it's interesting because, Alison, you got in touch with me, didn't you, when you had this discovery in synchronicity just a few days ago, and you were talking about 46 line 4, and I have quite a revelation around the 46 line 4. Because I had a dream about 46 line 4 when we were in the gate of the 46. Not last September, not last month, or is it the month before? Not yet. The year before. And what I discovered was that the line 4, out of all of the hexagrams, usually the line 5 in a hexagram is the strongest line when you're talking in terms of the I Ching. And as a line 5 in human design language, it's considered the universal energy. So, you know, potentially like where we can take wisdom from, perhaps in an involutionary sense, you know, when we're able to kind of connect to the higher realms through bypassing the mind, but allowing it to come through so that it registers like kind of through the third eye, if that makes sense. So, but the line 4 isn't mental energy, it's emotional energy. It's a different So we have trigrams, and then we actually separate things into mental, emotional, and physical. So 3 and 4 are emotional lines. And what's considered about the 46 line 4, unlike any other hexagram, is that the line 4 is the point of inception. So the involutionary energies actually do break through into it's like a bridge, really. Like it's like the heart. If you see the line 4 as a yin energy, because that's what it is, it's a line 4 and it's the heart. So it's almost like saying to us that that through pushing upwards through the lower trigram of the line 3, we can get to the line 4 because it's being offered to us through this grace and auspiciousness. And it also aligns with the galactic super galactic center, which Philip Sedgwick talks about, which is another cycle beyond the galactic center. So 2 degrees Libra, 46 line 4 is, if we were going to go for the mean, you know, for the middle, it is 46 line 4. And I just found that so intriguing. It's like, well, the 46 is the body. We know that in the gene keys, right? We know that that's where, and the body is also really where the inexperience is, you know, because it's where the formula has to be in like kind of created as a habit, like to find how our body works, so that we can work out our mythic wounds. You know, if you look up to the 25, it's programming partner, and how that self-acceptance works through the programming partner of the 25 coming through into the 46. So I think it's really, really fascinating that we've got this bridge of Mary Magdalene being brought in here in the discovery. And just whilst I'm here, I'll mention that the. Do you want me to talk about what I think about the VSP being at Libra 1 degrees over? Right. So so what I think that's showing us, because it's going backwards, as we know, because we've been experiencing this together now, is it's about to go into Virgo. Okay, and that's high priestess energy. So Mary Magdalene's showing us, right, here you go. You now have got to experience the earth, and perhaps find your sovereignty through the earth, because Gaia needs to be given the energy before we can rise up. You know, like she basically is ignited us, or there's a bit of a cultural thing going on there. Which one's first, Alison? But yeah, I feel like she's showing us to like kind of direct the energies through nature, and yeah, so I think that that's what that's saying. High priestess energy, and the 50 line 4 Uranus being there. Well, that's perfect, isn't it? That's basically saying the next time you have a Venus star point in 120 years, don't worry about the next 120 years, because Uranus means don't look backwards, because we're just looking forwards, because that's what Uranus says. So it's almost an auspicious point to say, ignore the next 120 years and wait till we get back to Libra again. Well, not ignore, but yeah, plow it into the earth, let the earth nourish you. I think that's what it was saying. But yeah, it's interesting that line 3 and line 4 energy with the 46 line 4, because the 46 line 3 would be at 1 degrees Libra, and that's saying up to us, right, this is the anaretic degree, you've got to start having a relationship with yourself. And the Libra line degree 2 is saying, but now you've got the super galactic center, and that's where source is, and that's where the other relationship is. So that's what I think it's showing us in terms of how we're moving forward with the polarities, so that we can sort this gender business out on divine masculine and feminine. Thank you. So I'm complete now, but if anybody's got any questions or if we want to get the conversation going, somebody wants to move it along, I'm happy with that too.
And you don't have to comment on the astrology side. You can just talk about what Mary Magdalene has been to you, you know, more general as well.
I tried to watch the movie and I just didn't understand it.
Someone just said to me, look outside the window. There's the most amazing sunset. It's gorgeous. Maybe it's a sign. So long. Oh, go on, Tara.
I too was raised Catholic, so I always had a little bit of a fascination with her. Even when she was framed differently, in the beginning, I even found her to be intriguing in so many ways. That she was so close to Christ, and I don't think it bothered me, and I found that I just thought it was really cool and really interesting that all of the lies came into the light, like that she evolved through us. And I think it was important for whatever reason in our childhood that she did come in a different space because it accessed different layers of healing. And then boom, just transformed, so it was, I don't know, it was pretty cool how that happened. To me, it was like, oh, we've all done our work, and thus a whole archetype transformed, due to the work that the collective did, because at that time that was very much the accepted way of gazing at it. And not that it mattered at all, had she come from wherever she came from, it wouldn't have mattered. It didn't matter. But we had to get to a place where it didn't matter in order for her to evolve in our psyche. And this demonstrates that our psyche evolved through our own process. That way we were able to see ourselves differently. So, yeah. So anyway, that's just kind of, I haven't necessarily had a huge calling to go to France yet and do that whole walk. I'm much more interested in the caves there myself. But maybe in the future. Yeah, very, just, the Gnostics and all of that, very close to my heart. And I don't remember where she is in my chart. I would love to take a look at that.
I can share a little bit. My Magdalena is 25 Virgo, and it brings it into my third house. So I was always drawn to the Black Madonna in art. And my experience with Mary Magdalena kind of started living here in Flagler because my friend Shannon Anderson has written The Magdalene Awakening, a book, and she's working on her second and third book. She's actually in France at this time for 9 months writing her third book. And she's friends, well, she brought a geologist here to work the ley lines in the area of Flagler. and discover where they were. So always on solstice and equinox, we gather with song, bath, and ceremony on the ley line, which is about 7 miles away, the point exactly where it's the strongest. But when I walk the ley line, I had experiences where I actually felt a hood coming over my head and a cape, and I felt her presence. And I was walking with a friend of mine, George Freeman, who came to visit me, and we went together to walk. And at that point, his foot was bothering, and this energy came over me to get down on my feet, my knees, and touch his feet and put my hands around it. And I felt just like we were Jesus and Mary, like that, together, like the energy was like the healing of the feet, and so I noticed that in the discovery, 10.6 is my Earth in human design. It's my Chiron. 10.6 is my Chiron, and that's very much in the conscious mind. So to me, it feels just like unity with others and healing this in the conscious mind of all, and knowing the trueness of Mary Magdalene. And Gene Key 10 is being, of course, the city. So, and I always had an attraction to France, always wanted to go to Lourdes. But, so that the Gene Keys has put another aspect in it to me because of the Chiron being 10.6 at the discovery of Magdalena awakening. So I also feel the grace with the Jupiter and the 22 Gene Key. I see it very much connected with the Gene Key 49 as the crossing of the 3 yin, which is the 3 yin meridians on the spleen 6. So there's a lot of water, a lot of energy of all yin. So that's all I will share at this time. Thank you.
Hi everyone, it's me, Daniel Priya. I'll share a little something. I always had I feel like a connection with Mary Magdalene in a way, because I felt like she was my champion in a sense for any impure thoughts or whatever the case may be. I too was raised Catholic. We didn't go to church or anything, but just that energy was just there. On my father's side, Jewish. And as a body worker, I always felt so strongly connected with her. Whenever working on the feet, I always felt like Mary Magdalene whenever I would massage, and always bring in this energy of, I just felt a presence there. Not even something I was searching for, it would just show up. And then in later times, more recently, she's shown up a few times as a healing presence. And what's so funny is I was doing a session on my sister, and I felt like Mary Magdalene came into our session, and we just held space for her to do a healing. And my whole sister's screen turned this color purple. And she was like, Danielle, are you there? And she showed me what happened to her screen and my screen as well. I was reading that book, Rituals of Sacred Stone. And I just got so fascinated by Mary Magdalene and how she was one of the priestesses of Egypt, and just learning more about all of that felt so expansive. and deep. And I really loved that. So yeah, I think this is calling me to step on the path of um, just opening that door to Mary Magdalene more. I love the south of France. I went on a shamanic retreat there with a color teacher and the Druidic priestess, and it was beautiful. It's one of my favorite areas. So I just feel really blessed to be on the call today. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for all of your wisdom.
Allison, in your presentation, you talked about 19 degrees Aquarius. And what was that point? I have Vesta there.
Ah, okay. Well, that's significant because I would say Mary Magdalene and Vesta are the kind of prime priestess archetypes in the asteroids. So she was discovered at 19 degrees Aquarius. That's Gene Key 49, line 1. The it's almost like the beginning of the revolution.
Oh.
So yeah, she's definitely a strong one for you, Laurie. It's interesting you had that reaction to the film. Maybe it's significant that you had a negative. Was it a negative, or you just didn't get it?
It's a me thing and the comprehension thing. I don't quite follow movies like that. Like I understand what's going on, but I'm not really able to. I'm not drawn in to watch.
Well, maybe just like ask her to speak to you directly of what it is that she's there to do, and maybe like something in this conversation and presentation rings out as true. You know, like the invisibility thing. That I think, you know, and that's been a massive one for me. You know, not being seen.
I think if I read it right, Magdalene is in Gene Key 19 for me. 9 degrees Aquarius. Right. So, and that's my core wound. And so I'm totally going through that. And again, still, but the sensitivity way more prominent in my interactions. You just that tuned in. The invisibility too feels resonant, obviously.
Yeah, I think that invisibility is an interesting one, and it connects with the 26th gene key as well, I think. So that kind of it's like there's invisibility which can be a painful wound, and there's invisibility as a city. It's like, wow, that's quite an interesting sort of contemplation, I guess.
Well, and then what really comes strong for me at that point is that my EQ and purpose are both Gene Key 22. Right. So it's like, I think I just need to sit and be present most of the time.
Yeah, and you're obviously carrying a massive transmission of the divine goddess priestess energy. So feels like just an allowing of that to manifest through you in whatever way it wants to, really. Phoebe, did I see your mic come on? Okay, so So unless anyone else has anything to say, do you? We'll leave it there for today. And yeah, it's been lovely. I want to have this more kind of conversational style this year. It feels like, you know, the kind of, yeah, inviting everyone's point of view into the conversation. And as I say, it doesn't matter if you don't get the astrology bits, you know, but to talk about the archetype is great too. But if you do, like Phoebe's offered this amazing information about human design, so so yeah, that all those elements, gene keys, human design, they can kind of give us a much fuller picture, I think, of what the archetype is carrying. So that's been really exciting, I think. I love the synchronicities of doing this. So,
Can I just say something to
yeah.
Laurie? Because I thought Laurie was 19 degrees Aquarius, and then she said 9 degrees, and then she said that she's in Gene Key 19. And so then I was recognizing the programming partner being about remembering, because that's what the 33 is. So I just thought perhaps, yeah. Vesta is 19. Okay. Vesta is Gene Key 19. I thought you were saying it was 19 degrees Aquarius. Right. But so your Magdalene is not at 19, Gene Key 19. But anyway, maybe what my
9 degrees, which I think is Gene Key 19. Vesta is at 19 degrees, which is the Gene Key 19, and it's just in line 2, or 49, line 2, 49, line 2, just switched into line 2.
okay. So your Vesta's in 49 and your Magdalena is in 19. Right, got it. So yeah, there's something about the programming partner that's wanting to come through to tell you, Laurie, and they're both significant in both halves, in both sides, because the 4 is about the experience of being in the body, and then also the 33 is about us remembering us. So it's interesting that you said that film didn't mean much. Anyway, I just wanted to say that.
Yep, let's all remember our inner priestess as we go off into the world and her power to manifest from the invisible realms. I mean, that's what's exciting about the priestess energy. So next week we're going to be doing the full moon, which is a bit of change to what I said originally, but the full moon is off the scale. It's conjunct Uranus. It's going to be like such a major full moon. So we'll have a look at that next Monday. And yeah, have a wonderful week, and message me if you want to say anything. Otherwise, see you then. Bye.
Oh, sorry about that.
Someone just arrived an hour late. Hello. You won't believe this, but I've given you the wrong time because of the bloody clock change. So
Oh, me?
yeah, I think, did I tell you 5 o'clock?
Yeah.
Oh no. It was 5 o'clock, but then the clock's changed.
Oh, right. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sorry, but I'll definitely send it to you I'll send you the replay.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Are
But
you
I'm
just
sorry.
finishing? Are you
Yeah,
finished?
yeah. We
Yeah.
literally just finished, and I'm like, oh my god, Kiki's here.
No worries, no worries. So, okay, so
So
I'll go then.
if you want to come along next week, it's at 4, and we're doing the full moon.
Doing the full moon, okay.
Yeah.
And then
So
are you doing Medusa the week after?
yes, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
All
All
right.
right, well, bye for now.
Bye.